Hey, one more thing before you go. Have you ever wondered how paranormal phenomena and spiritual encounters are linked to the awakening of human consciousness and spiritual ascension? How practical tools like aromatherapy, crystal healing, and biohacking technologies can elevate your life with ease and joy. In this episode of One More Thing Before You Go, we answered these questions and many, many more with our extraordinary guest, Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon. I am your host, Michael Hurst. Welcome to One More Thing Before You Go. Dr. Sharnael is a captivating multidisciplinary expert who seamlessly blends naturopathic medicine, spirituality, and quantum science to empower individuals in their journey to wholeness. I'm excited about this conversation because I believe in all of that. As the founder of True TV and author of 5 groundbreaking books, including her international best-selling book, The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love, Dr. Sharnael offers a unique perspective on achieving optimal health and unlocking human potential. Dr. Sharnael's global influence spans over 51 countries, where she shares her transformative insights through speaking engagements, online classes, and social media platforms. You'll find her all over the web. We're going to walk away with a deeper understanding of how to tap into your potential intuition, deepen your connection to source, elevate your life with ease and joy, talk about all things paranormal and supernatural. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I'm like writing down some of the things you're saying because I'm like, you're so like, I love what you say. You're very communicative.
Why, thank you.
So
I,
happy to
I, I
hear.
try to do my best to communicate. That's a language within itself, isn't it?
You're using all of your gifting in all the right ways, and I am loving seeing what you're doing with your life. I've never even met you, and I can tell your ethics, your integrity, your creativity, your beauty, and using the digital stuff and just getting such great guests. I kind of like stalked a little bit on, what you've done and some of the people. And I'm like, wow, you attract some really cool people into your world. And so I'm really excited about this.
Well, thank you very much. That's all we needed to say. And thank you for being on the show. And
That's funny. I love it. And your
uh,
humor.
it has been a journey for me, and I'm very grateful for the community that I've been able to participate in, and I'm grateful that we've been able to give a voice to the people that have a voice, and to inspire, educate, and motivate. And I think that we all are put on this earth to do some form of that, and redefining our purpose. And I am grateful for what you bring to the world, because obviously you are here to do the same. So thank you for being here.
Yes. Well, we all are. We all have our individually customized synchronicities of life and doing our thing. And, if everybody was doing exactly what they were supposed to, can you even imagine how this world would be if we just all did what was in our hearts to do and live in that authenticity and that integrity and just be in that sense? Wouldn't that be fun?
What an ideal opportunity to live in harmony and love and in compassion and everything that we need to thrive as an individual and as a society. So we can always try to contribute a little bit of that and see if we can kind of turn the world a little bit towards that. Maybe just a
Just
little.
like recalculating.
Exactly. Exactly. Tell what is it? Google Maps? Yeah, Google Maps. We need to put that into Google Maps so everybody knows where to go.
I would love that.
I
Yes.
I always like to start kind of at the beginning, get a little background, and kind of get to know you a little bit more, and help our community know you a little bit more. Where'd you grow up?
I actually I grew up a lot of different places. My dad was in the military, and so I moved every couple years. I was born in Montana. I consider Montana home, and I still have a lot of people there, and we have a place there. I don't get to go home very often. Winter, especially, I don't go too much. But I'm currently living in Louisiana. But I've mostly lived in the northern areas of the United States. I also lived in England for a little twice. I went to school over there early, and then I went back in college, and then I lived in Germany for 4 years. So I've traveled quite a bit. I've seen a lot of things. I enjoy travel very much. And I think that, in my opinion, travel and living in different places has really made me who I am in a lot of ways, even though it didn't seem fun at the time, having to uproot and leave your friends and everything you know in your school and your house and all the things. Especially when I grew up, because we didn't have, cell phones, and, you could just FaceTime somebody now and it's not even a big deal. It doesn't even seem like you went anywhere. We're all so connected. But at the time it was like tragic, to leave your friend and never see them again, and, that kind of thing. So, but it did give me a lot of, like, a big picture view of the world, different cultures, different ways people live, different languages, different foods. And I suggest everybody travel and see different places. And I think that, like, with my kids, I've brought them different places to kind of give them a different view and perspective of how things are, and to give them some appreciation for how we live here in America. But, but yeah,
Yeah. It's a really it's a diverse opportunity for us to understand societies and cultures from a different perspective, a unique perspective, actually. I've done a little bit of traveling. Us and my family, we've done a little bit of traveling, and we love those aspects that we are able to integrate within that. I'm very grateful for this show because I've been able to, I'm a retired sergeant, actually, and I told you that in the beginning, and my community understands that. But it's when I got injured in line of duty, and then I had to redefine my purpose. And I thought that was the end of my life, because that's who I was at that time. But being integrated into the world of podcasting and this show, and the reach that I've been able to obtain, I have held interviews, and I have an audience within like 59 countries.
wow.
Whereas that would not have given me that opportunity in the job that I was before. So, it gave me a broad perspective, even traveling, sitting in this seat in front of this camera, like you had said earlier. But, back in the olden days when we didn't have that
Yeah,
opportunity, that was only on Star Trek. Star Trek had the video cameras, and you could do
yeah.
a video call. But yeah, it's nice when we get to integrate like that and kind of be able to explore and experience life.
It is. I mean, just this morning, like, I did conference speaking for years, and I do love the energy of being in a room, whether it's 10 people or 40,000.
Yeah.
And then afterwards hugging and looking in people's eyes and all that. But just this morning, I was already on two interviews, one in Germany and one in South Africa. And and now I'm here with you, and I have six more to go today, and they're all in different places in it. So it's sort of just like, it's just amazing how connected we can be,
Yeah.
and how much your platform, can 51, 59 countries, you said?
59 countries, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of influence, and that's just beautiful. I love that we can do that. And, like, my son, just got out of the military, but he did 4 deployments,
Wow.
and my son-in-law. And when my dad was military, he would go somewhere for 9 months or a year, and it would be like, bye, and we would
Yeah.
have to write letters, or we have to send a cassette tape and record ourselves. There was no
Yeah.
back and forth. We would send a cassette, and then we might get a cassette tape later, of like a month later or 3 weeks later or
Mhm.
something. And that was our only way. And when my son-in-law was gone, my daughter, they would FaceTime every other day or what. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is way different. It's different kind of world we live in, but it's cool.
It's very cool. The aspect of digital media and the opportunity for us to have a conversation like we're sitting at a table having a cup of coffee together, and it makes it more personal. And I personally love it. I think it's a brilliant way to connect with people that we wouldn't have the opportunity to do before. And we should all reach out and do that. Even the individuals that have the opportunity that, well, we can get to that later, but you get individuals that are missing or lonely. Though there's ways of connecting. There's
Yeah,
ways of connecting like this.
yeah. During the, I'm not going to say the word, but the last few years, when things were shut down,
Yeah.
um, everything went on the internet. I mean, people were just Zooming and
Yeah.
hanging out. And I mean, I think that opened the door. I was always doing remote consultations over the phone since like 2012 or 16,
Way
whether the
back.
phone or whatever. So I was a little bit before my time. But then after that happened, even MDs were, doing remote telecalls and what have you. And yeah, I think people were down and out, and it was a way well people could at least talk and chat and just kind of feel like they weren't alone. And
Yeah.
I think people are still there, with suicide up like 300% even now. Um, you know, it's interesting that this can be an avenue where people can just listen to a podcast and get something out of it and feel inspired and maybe not feel all alone, that someone else is going through something else, and resonate with someone across the world, and not feel so isolated.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. You mentioned you're a naturopathic doctor, correct?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that from that perspective. I am in my journey alone. I have severe rheumatoid arthritis. I was injured. I was hit by a car, and I got a whole slew of mess up all over my body. And I've been through about 8 operations. And when I first got rheumatoid arthritis, because of all the injuries and so forth, is what they were kind of attributing it to. I believed in more of a naturopathic and holistic approach to medicine and to healing. And it actually got me. I've been through 8 operations, and every one of them I've been healed up like 6 to 8 to 12 weeks sooner than the average individual because of the methodologies that we were using. I only say that because I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate what you do from the naturopathic, perspective, the holistic perspective, and in a person listening to their body. Had you always wanted to be a naturopathic doctor? How'd you get into that?
I didn't even know there was such a thing growing up. I coming from a military background, we just did what everyone said, whether it was, get the thing or stand in line at school and get your fluoride for the day. We did everything that the military said to do. So it wasn't until when I was conference speaking, there was about 17 years where I was on 6 planes a week. My diet was horrible because even traveling back then, there weren't a lot of choices at airports and gas stations. It's a little bit better now, not as bad, but um, anyway, I found myself pretty sick. And I would say the last 6 years of that 17 years, I wasn't doing so great, not because of a car accident like your situation, but just because I think stress, not really having the best balance, being in a terrible relationship, and just eating all the wrong things. My diet, if you call it that, at the time was pretty much like Coca-Cola, like six maybe 6 cans a day just to stay afloat. I was Doritos, Rice Krispie bar. I mean, all the terrible options that there are. And so I was about 80 pounds more in weight than I am now. I was going to doctors. I was having a lot of pain, like a low grade fever constantly, super depressed, just not feeling great. And so I went through all the loops and the hoops with the Western kind of situation, trying to get some answers. Nobody could really find out anything. They would just keep shoving pharmaceuticals on me, and that would have side effects, and I have to take another one and another one and another one, and started to get to the point where I was on 33 different meds, wasn't feeling better, had a small suitcase of just all the garbage I would take when I would travel. And I was teaching a course on dreams and visions. I love intuition. I love neuroscience. I love the supernatural. I know your show talks a lot about that. So I was teaching on that, and had my little suitcase, was staying with some people that had hosted me for this conference, and they saw what I was doing, and they saw the mental gymnastics of take this with that, and don't take these two together, and make sure there's milk with this, and don't eat this unless you have food. And just the figuring out of the maps of how to take all the things I was on. And they were like, you should try go seeing this guy. He happened to be an MD, but he practices more on an ND level. Didn't know what an ND was. Wasn't interested in seeing another doctor. Was pretty hopeless and depressed because it's a full-time job to be sick. You know, you would probably know with 8 surgeries,
Absolutely.
getting better is quite a hike when you're not in your best. And yeah, and so I wasn't super hopeful going to see another guy. What was that going to do? You know, just were they going to throw another medicine at me that wasn't going to do anything and that was going to cause more side effects? And but I, in the end, went ahead, caved, went to see this guy, and that ended up being a life changing new direction for me. He had all of these biohacking um, machines in his office that I had never heard of. Hyperbaric chamber, PEMF, red light therapy, rifes, lasers. You know, this was foreign to me, and it was intriguing to me because I'm a geek and I love weird stuff and I love frequency, and I'd been teaching on, you know, frequency and the supernatural and the neuroscience of things. And so it was like, wow, this is cool and this is interesting. And he actually started talking to me about aromatherapy and the frequency of that, which I had only been introduced to oils at the time as like something that would make you smell better if you know, forgot your deodorant that day or something. And but I didn't know about like the difference between a real oil and a fake oil. I didn't know about like the frequency involved in that. I didn't know anything about crystals, which are in all of these amazing biohacking technologies. I didn't know how it worked with our system. And I kind of just dove in to this whole other world of the naturopathic thing. And then I was introduced to another guy, and ended up having like 3 different guys in my life that were, one was an MD and a pastor. One was an ND and very spiritual. The other was an ND and an MD and extremely spiritual. And like I said, I didn't know what an ND was. And it made sense to me when I started thinking about going to the root issue instead of just band-aiding everything. And I kind of saw this like car situation where in my mind I'm like, oh, okay, well, if the light goes on in your car and you need your oil changed, if you took it to the mechanic and he's like, you know what, let's just unplug the light and make sure there's no noise or anything, and we're just gonna like put that, you know, you'll be fine. And then you drive away and the car explodes like 2 weeks later, right? It's like that's our body, and our body, you know, sends these signals out. And if we just keep on medicating them to not signal, things just get bigger and bigger and bigger, as you know. And so I was very interested, and again, started going down that path of using aromatherapy. And within 16 weeks of using what he said, I was able to get off all my meds. I dropped 80 pounds without even changing my diet. And then I was like, I wonder what would happen if I also changed my diet and maybe started working out and had the energy to for the first time, was feeling good enough to do that. And I was on a plane going to another conference I was teaching at. And I just had this, like, I don't know, something came to me like, hey, you should go back to school and be an ND. And my previous life, I say previous life, before I was conference speaking, you know, during conference speaking, I was more of in a religious type situation. And my undergraduate was wellness and kinesiology because I wasn't full-time ministry at the time. And then I went to seminary. And that was a path that I thought I had to take in order to be in a spiritual plane with, you know, teaching and what have you. So I always thought I would be like a doctor in divinity or something, and had not yet finished that. But I never thought about being a naturopath. And so this like dropped into me one day, and then I'm on the plane and I was like, God, do you really want me to be an ND? And I looked out the window and there was like these cones, you know, like they have on the tarmac, you know, go this way, go that way. And it had ND that way. And it was in the direction I was going. And I was like, oh my God. So Monday I called and lined up school. And I went back to school at 37 with 3 kids, you know, like this looks weird, but I'm doing it.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing. That's what it is an amazing journey. I explored that myself at one time to go into a naturopathic um, uh, opportunity because they have a school here. It's the I forgot the name of it. The not Midwestern, whatever it is that's down here in Arizona. It is actually a very profound school with regard to graduating naturopathic doctors, and I was that close to doing it. And then when I went to ASU to finish my degree, I saw this opportunity for an interdisciplinary approach to digital media performance and art, and I went, I think I'm going to go there, and did that. So that's how I got off track from that. But I appreciate 100% your approach to healing and to allowing individuals to have a better understanding of the mind, the body, and the soul connection. You can't see my Italian hands moving, mind, body, and soul. Uh, and so, yeah, I had to ask how you came to that because everybody has their journey with health, especially, and it's personal. And from that unique perspective, you came to where you're supposed to be. That's cool.
Yes, I really do truly believe that if we listen within, then those little voices tell us where to go, and that is what's going to give us our best and our highest. And you obviously did that, and you're using all your gifts for a lot of cool things. And I've seen your work now, and I'm just like, wow, that's impressive. So good job doing following those voices.
Thank you. I didn't have a sign as clear as yours. uh, I find that pretty cool too. Speaking of signs and voices and so forth, and you mentioned this word a couple of times, paranormal and supernatural. Those are fun. I love talking about the paranormal and supernatural. Can you share some of your most profound paranormal phenomena or spiritual encounters you've had so we can embark on a little pathway here?
Yeah, I would say the biggest sign, or I don't know, redirection that I had was around that time I was telling you. I was still very much like trying to figure it out, and just, I'm one who second guesses quite often, and I'm like, can I have another sign? Can I have another sign? Can I have another sign? And I was living I was at my house and came out of my bedroom one day, walked into my living room, and there were these two ginormous, like maybe 14 feet tall beings in the living room. And I was terrified. I froze, and they were kind of, all I can say is like almost like the beam me up Scotty. They were kind of beaming in and out. Um, I The colors were very iridescent, kind of like Eastery colors, very light pastels, and one looked very female and one looked very male. Um, I must have looked afraid because immediately I heard, oh, I'm getting choked up. I heard them like try to, say, "Hey, don't be afraid. It's okay." There was no talking, but I heard it. And then they had this, there was books everywhere, these giant books everywhere, and a desk. And the girl looking one came around the side of the desk and like sat down, and she opened this book, and I was really curious to see what is in the book. I mean, these books were really thick, and they were just stacked all the way as high as the ceiling in multiple stacks. I went around and kind of peered over to the desk to look to see what was in the books, and it was records, records and records and records and records and records. And it was just line by line by line of different people's names who were healed of different things at different times and how they were healed. And it was the next person and the next person and the next person. And I was just like, it resonated with me, and I could feel it in my heart. And the girl, the lady, whatever, she kind of like looked at me and she said, "What do you want?" Like very firmly. And I said, "I want to be a part of that." And when I did, she looked over at the other guy and she just kind of went like that. And he kind of just like went with that. And then she looked back at me and she pointed her finger at me and she said, "Tell them they're not truly living unless they're living true." And then she slammed the book and everything was gone. Like the people were gone or whatever they were gone. The desk was gone. The books were gone. I was just left standing there. I could feel it in my body, like down to my cells. I was shaking, very emotional. I'm sorry, my dog's
That's
yelling
okay.
at me. And I knew that it meant a lot more than just like telling a fib. You know, I had a lot of information all of a sudden that I didn't have. I had like graphs and colors and like formulas and things kind of floating around. And I immediately just grabbed a notebook and started like writing things down and trying to like keep what I knew. I was afraid that it would go away and then I wouldn't remember it. Um, and I just knew, like, I started really digging in even more to the frequencies and the understanding of like how integrity works, how karma works, how creating miracles work, you know, how our DNA and our technology within us is constantly creating, and how we can either create something really positive or by default accidentally be creating some crappy stuff. Um, and how that works on an individual level, how it works on a conscious level. And I ended up actually having multiple dreams later. That same woman has come back to me several times during major shifts. When I was pregnant, she had come and told me, you know, you're pregnant. And that was a big thing. And then the next day, I kind of forgot about it. And my daughter came home from school and she had like this coloring book rip out page that she had from school. And it was Precious Moments. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it was an angel pushing a stroller and had a baby in it. And she came home and she was like, "Mommy, you're pregnant." And I was just like, "Oh my God." So, and she talks to these angels or whatever they are. I don't know if they're off planet. I don't, angel just means messenger. So where they come from, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote this whole book about the information that was given to me, and she came to me again when I was losing a baby. I've had 7 miscarriages.
I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, there's been a lot of weird stuff. I went to a bedroom one time and like just was sitting in there meditating, and I looked at the clock and it was like 8 something, and you know, saw a light. And it's just a lot of stuff. And then I when I came back, it was 8:30 in the morning, and I had missed like 12 hours of time. And
Wow.
so I mean, there's been a lot of weird stuff that is just like not really explainable. But
Well, I'd say
I
it was very profound. I mean, obviously, it still affects you emotionally. You could tell. I saw it still affected you very emotionally in regard to that. Do you feel that maybe in that particular case, if you don't mind me asking, do you think that you may have visited the Akashic records?
I didn't know what that was until maybe 5 years later. I had never heard of that before. I had a friend that had talked about he had something similar where he went to like he called the
Mm.
libraries of heaven. But I think it was about 5 or 7 years later. I was in Montana visiting, and they had a lady there who would do like readings of
Mm.
Akashic records. So I googled. I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, wow, maybe that's what that
That's
was. You
what you
know.
saw.
Um,
I mean, that's got to be obviously, like I said, it affected you to this day. It still affects you when you spoke about it in regard to. I mean, that connection, especially the spiritual connection, has got to be phenomenal. In the feeling that you were able to connect at that level, and do it in such a way that you came back with information that you retained, I think is a really good thing. How do you see these experiences as linked to like awakening of human consciousness and spiritual ascension, because to me it sounds like they're angels, whether they be here or off world, wherever the case may be. Like you said, they're messengers. I believe in guardian angels. I believe in angels. I talk to my angels every day. And I think that connection with that gives me a broader consciousness and spiritual, allowed me to ascend spiritually. Can we talk about that a minute?
Yeah. I, at the time, my only verbiage or understanding of what it could be was angels.
Okay.
But now that I know that there's like off planet things, and, I still don't know what that missing 8 hours was about. And, I've sometimes thought like, well, maybe I was taken up and like went off planet, or I really don't
Yeah.
know. But it's back to your question as far as consciousness and just connecting. I will say that around that time too, I had completely gotten off sugar. And when when we're eating sugar, we are disconnecting from source. And I find that when we do
That's
some
interesting.
things to work with technology, um, we we can connect better with our intuition and with what we're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, with my dad being in the service, I was actually a part of some really dark projects in Montauk from 73 to 76. And I do remember them saying, like, if they got a child that was on sugar, they would take them off the programs completely. So I'm a big believer in like keto or carnivore or anything that wouldn't include carbohydrates, because my best days are sugar free. And
Mm.
I think as far as a catalyst, if someone's looking to really go within and really connect, you can meditate, you could do all kinds of things. But if you have sugar that is clogging up the receptors and causing inflammation from being able to tap into that, those things, fluoride, chemicals, all of those things, again, it's integration. It's not,
Yeah.
we Western people, we tend to be like, this is over here and that's over there, and there's all these separate things. But my thing that I got out of that first encounter was, you cannot pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. There's no smoking section. It's like, if you are screwing up in this area, or you're seeing like abundance isn't your area, then that's going to affect every area. If
Well,
partnership and who you're living with is screwed up, that's just not going to just be in that one area. That's every
yeah.
area. And when we seal it up and tighten it up on one area, that affects everything. And it also affects our children, if we have any, because their DNA is within us. And also, every partner we've ever slept with is also still within us, especially as females. We are carrying those things forever. They do autopsies on women, and they can say how many partners they had, and how many children they've carried, and it's all in the brain, it's all in the DNA. And so if it feels really hard for people, it's because they're doing change for many.
Mm.
And that's why it's super important to have conscious relationships, sexual relationships, and even physical relationships, who you hang out with. All of those things are very transferable in the field, and it's important who you're literally giving your energy to. And by default, we can hang around other people who are lower frequency, and if we're not careful, that can affect our frequency. Just like
Yep.
you buy a house in the middle of a subdivision and there's $1 million homes all around you, but maybe you have $150,000 house. Your equity goes up just by being in the middle of all of those homes. And so this is how it is with frequency too. And it's really, really important.
Well, I agree with all of that. I think that it is a situation where if we have to listen to our own bodies when we talk about our health, about our well-being, our mental well-being, as well as our physical well-being. I agree with you in that 100%. I don't do sugar, and I haven't done it for years, and I know that it contributed to my inflammation quite a bit, and many other things. But I really acknowledged that early on, luckily, and was unable to get out of that. What you had mentioned earlier about I wholeheartedly believe that we're not alone in this universe. I think that there are more powerful beings and more intelligence throughout the universe, with the billions and billions of stars and planets that are out there. That it is unfathomable to think that we're the only ones here. And I do believe that we are visited in such a point that our technology, our evolvement in regard to all aspects, including medicine and natural medicine, has come to us from another arena. So your experiences could very well have been either angelic or something from off planet. Without hesitation, I would understand that. The aspect that we have the ability to create a more consciousness approach to our spiritual ascension, I think is a wonderful opportunity. What kind of tools can we use to be able to maybe elevate that within ourselves? I know you just mentioned some of them, but what do you think we can do to make it life easier for us to be able to make that connection?
Yeah, well, programming is an interesting word. We think about television or, programs on TV. I think that brainwashing is real, but I also believe that we can brainwash ourselves in the positive. And so it starts up here. The mind is powerful. We have crazy, awesome cognitive skills, and to focus on things that are going to create something more beautiful are really important. Things like what you're doing. This show is a great. It helps serve humanity in so many ways because it gives people options from maybe what's on television. It's like television. Whose vision is it? you know um I like focusing on all the positive, using our imagination to create. That was one of the formulas that was sent to me, of talking about things as if they happened and then getting into the feeling of it and being able to create that. Imaging, the word imagination, to image a nation. We can imagine our own lives, we can create our own lives. And as we continue to create in the more positive consciously, through imagination, through decrees, through thoughts, through feelings, through the integrity of this soil, and really putting in good things that are going to help the mechanics of this, and the machinery that we've been given. Spirit is in here. Like, why not make the house of it really cool and good and strong and working in its best, highest form, so we can be here and do what we're called to do. And I feel like we all are very called to do very specific things. My thing may be different than yours, and that's okay. I'm never upset about where people are and what they're doing, because it's like, if that's what they're supposed to do, who am I to know if they're supposed to do that or not? But, I stay in my lane. I celebrate where people are. And I use a lot of tools. Like I mentioned, essential oils are amazing. I have a whole teaching. I have tons of teachings on my YouTube channel that talk about, the connection, the quantum connection to essential oils and the limbic system, and how it clears the DNA so we can have more positive numbers in the field, because we only get what we are. So if we have positive, like high frequency equations in the field, then we're going to get a match to that. If we have lower numbers, we get a match to that as well. And so, some of us come in and incarnate into this system here, and we may have, some stuff with our ancestors or whatever, some programming back there that maybe isn't our highest. But once we know what it is, if we're starting to see those patterns and they're not so great, and I don't just mean like physical things like arthritis or, whatever grandma had, but even like poverty or poor choice of abuse in relationships or something. There's patterns like that as well, and even cultural patterns. And if it's not your highest, and we can identify it, then we can shift it. I love biofeedback. I do remote biofeedback with people, so we can look at emotions, we can look at DNA, we can look at organs, we can look at chemistry of the brain, sleep patterns. There's like 30 pages of reports of different things that we can identify may need a little boost. And then we actually customize frequencies to that person to bring the equations up higher and to kind of clear out some of those numbers that aren't serving them, so they can start having a better experience here, whether that is poverty or abundance, or having a partner that sucks, or having your best highest partner, or maybe the best job or purpose, or give you some more clarity and direction on like where to go with your life. And so I could do that remote. Crystals are great. I have a whole card deck system that kind of teaches and explains some of that. All the biohacking things like red light therapy, hyperbaric chamber, PEMF, ozone therapy is probably my favorite right now, that and biofeedback. And if you guys go to my website, drsharnael.com, there's a part on there that says ozone at home therapy. If you click that, you'll start getting like some education on how you can easily ozone at home, and like how that works with your system, with your DNA, with the mitochondria, kind of like amp things up with your ATP, so you have energy and clarity, and you could really, really tap into some things that way. But oh my gosh, there's so many different things. Like, I would love to hear what you do. Like, what are your favorite biohacks?
It's interesting. I believe in meditation. I believe in connecting mind, body, and soul, and I try to do that through acupuncture, through meditation, through actually a lot of meditation. I do herbs, and I do Reiki, and I do so many other aspects of trying to balance myself, both inside and out, in order to like connect with myself and the universe. I believe I'm grateful. I've had Native American friends and family, and I wholeheartedly believe in the fact that Mother Nature and us live in combination with ourselves, with each other. We believe in aromatherapy. I think that we also use that. I use that for my migraines, and I use that for helping me to sleep. So the acupuncture, the aromatherapy. My wife, it lives on crystals. She's got a number of them that she keeps with her. She recharges them on certain phases of the moon. She'll put them out on the back patio so that they can recharge. So we practice quite a bit of that, and along with a spiritual perspective on everything. I grew up Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic. But I am spiritual, and I do believe in the higher source. I believe in God. I believe in angels. I believe in guides. I believe in the opportunities for us from a spiritual perspective to utilize what we've been provided um, in a modern way, as well as ancient practice, and kind of combine those and meld them together to be able to reach a level of enlightenment within ourselves, to be able to, I guess, live a more joyous and abundant life. I mean,
Oh,
that was a big dump there, wasn't it?
no, I was just looking up your name because I thought it was interesting. I'm a big name person. Mi- Michael, who is like God or gift from God, but your last name hurts.
Hurst.
Frequency.
My last name of Hurst is what?
It's frequency. It's another
Frequency.
form. It's like Hertz, but Hurst. It's
Oh,
like, yeah. And when
that's
I
interesting.
love words and words. There's a whole book on names. I'm trying to remember the lady's name's Anne Hamilton. I've had her on my show a few times, but she's done this study of
Uh,
names and how important names are, because we tend to live out our name. And when we get married and get a new name, we actually, there's scientific proof of people like changing their whole
really?
personality. But you're living
Uh,
out your who is like God frequency.
That's fascinating. Actually, I'm gonna have to explore that a little bit more. I find that really interesting. I am grateful that I have a connection. At least I feel that I've got a wide, a very wide connection with the universe and with God and with nature. And we keep our back doors open. We kind of have a large enough area where we leave them open, and we have birds that fly in every once in a while, and they'll hang out for a little bit, then they'll leave. We've got hummingbirds that come in. We have bees that'll come in, check things out, and then kind of leave. And I go out and talk to my trees. I talk to my plants,
Oh
and
God, me too. I love my trees. I love nature
uh,
so much. That is a big biohack. That is one of the biggest biohacks.
well, I think that becoming one with that allows us a deeper connection with the universe and with a higher source and with ourselves. I think that it's a combination of a motivation, inspiration to me. In every time I do it, I mean, we'll go out on the back patio in the morning. I put my feet on the ground, and I, no matter how cold it is, by the way, so that I can connect with Mother Earth. And I know it sounds a little weird, but
No, it's not weird at all.
allows me to kind of center myself. And that's how I center myself in the morning. I have a cup of tea, and so my wife, we go out, we do that in the morning, and we do that in the evening. We'll go out and center ourselves before we go to bed at night, and we center ourselves when we get up in the morning.
Yes, I'm a big sunset person. I'm not so great at the sunrise, but the sunset, you'll find me in the backyard with my feet on the ground, looking at the sun. I also really love fires. So my husband will light up a
Uh,
fire sometimes, and we just sit out there, and that's a great way too. But trees, grass, flowers, water, all of those things are there's a lot of code, there's a lot of information that's transferable. And if you've ever studied anything, there's a guy named Clive Baxter, like your back,
mm,
Baster or Bacster. He did a lot of work with lie detectors,
really?
well, right
Yeah.
up your cop alley,
Yeah.
but he was also very fascinated with nature. And so he started putting these plants on lie detectors to see how they would respond. Because as you know, people on lie detectors don't respond because they're quote
Wow.
lying, but because they're stressed out.
Their physiological aspect changes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would do these, experiments over and over and over again where he would like talk to the plant would get happy and it would respond, be mean to the plant,
That's
and
cool.
that would happen. Um, but yeah, he was even getting to the point where he would drive 40 miles away and he would just say to the plants, hey, I'm on my way home. And he would
That's cool.
look at his watch and like record, and then he would get home, and right at that time that he said that, they already knew that he was coming. And that he would try to like burn the plant, and of course it would freak out. He would send other people to either cut it or burn it, and it would have that response. And what's crazy is after like 3 weeks, this one lady came in, and as soon as she walked in, she wasn't even burning or cutting yet, and immediately the plant recognized her and had a memory and started freaking out before she even pulled out
Wow.
anything. So the FBI actually got a hold of this, and they started taking plants out of crime scenes, animals out of crime scenes. And instead of having, the glass and they
Yeah.
would point out, they would just bring one person in at a time. And the plant could identify the criminal where there's a rapist or a killer. And, we don't have the laws set up to have a
Wow.
plant on a stand or a cat on a stand, but there may be a day when the
Hey,
cat's up there.
let's hope so. I mean, we do. I've heard about the animals, because obviously animals are very open. They're very sensitive. They understand things. They know a bad guy, and when they see a bad guy. And there were a lot of times that we allowed that to bring it into court to show that the dog is nice, but when this bad person shows up, or they recognize that bad person that did something, to somebody that they loved, that there was a reaction to that, and a very negative reaction to that. But wow, it's I've got more interviews this afternoon. I should postpone them so I can investigate that further.
You will love it. His name is Clive
Uh,
Baxter,
yeah,
and there's videos on it and everything. Yeah, it's
that's
pretty
cool.
cool.
I mean, we had to know who he was because of learning of him about lie detecting, and stuff like that. But I did not know that portion of it. I'm gonna investigate that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I have a question in regard to all of that. How does combining spiritual practices and modern science kind of approach? We kind of talked about it a little bit here, and I had to make a note. Um, how do we integrate a modern approach to spiritual and holistic healing?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the Western way of doing things, which is going to be cutting, surgeries. And I'm not opposed to
Yeah,
surgery. Obviously, if you were in a car accident, I'm not going to put an oil on it and be, hope for the best. But I love surgeons. Surgeons are great. We need surgeons.
yeah.
I look at other approaches for the things that we can do something about and get to that root issue. But as far as what kind of things can we do to keep sharp spiritually, again, going back to diet, going back to just having some sort of practice, like you said, meditation is great, grounding is great, you know, connecting with nature is great. If you're in like some kind of concrete jungle and you don't have access to parks or nature or mountains or whatever, essential oils is a way that you can connect with nature because if you're using the right one, which I have on my website, you can look at them or you may have your own source. They go past the blood barrier and the brain barrier if they're the right ones, and it's actually not, if it's above the snake line on what real is. But yeah, diet. Um, I have certain practices that I use. I do ozone weekly. We have a Reiki therapist here that uses essential oils with Reiki. We have a raindrop therapy here at our practice, in my small practice. And then, just setting aside time and scheduling because things can get so crazy that sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. And I think a lot of times people in service, especially, will tend to really focus on everybody else so much that sometimes we forget about ourselves. So not leaving yourself out and making sure that oxygen mask is on and, scheduling a massage every now and then, it's not a spa thing. It's a lymphatic thing or a Reiki thing or a raindrop thing or infrared sauna or red light therapy, implementing these things on a regular daily thing or weekly thing or just everything that you can do, exercise, um, meditation, like you mentioned, going to bed kind of a decent hour helps a lot too, getting rest, not working crazy hours, 120 hours a week, having balance, scheduling fun if you have to. I know a lot of people who are very type A personality like myself. I have to literally schedule time to go do something that isn't work because I love my work and I can work and work and work and work and work till I don't even realize how sick or tired I am, cancel clear. So
Been there,
I
done that.
yeah, I've done it many times and I have to kind of recalculate and go, oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. So I literally will go in and X out days and be like, nothing can come past this day. This is family. This is self-care day. This is, quiet day, being in the quiet with no TV, no music, no anything, and really regathering, regrounding, spending time with my husband like you do with your wife. I think that's great. In the morning and in the afternoon, just centering with someone, that you love and making sure that that is, somewhere on the schedule. But scheduling is big for me anyway, especially in the lifestyle that I live with multiple businesses and multiple kids and all the things. We can get so carried away that we're not really remembering about God and us and connecting with source.
I think that's a brilliant opportunity for us to be able to connect with Source and to be able to connect with whichever higher power that you believe in and balance within yourself. I think balance in life is important. During the time period of a few years ago, my wife had the opportunity to work from home for a little while, and it everybody kept saying, "We got to get back to the normal. Got to get back to normal. Got to get back to normal." But in reality, what we figured out was normal was, the not driving an hour and a half into work and through horrendous traffic and worrying about accidents and worrying about getting there safely, spending 8 hours, 8.5 hours in a cubicle, and then doing the same thing on the way home. And then we found out that it was more normal to, just like I said earlier, to go out on the back patio and to watch the hummingbirds come and say hello in the morning, and feel the sun rise up on your face, and to have a talk with the birds in the backyard, and then take a 30-second commute to your desk, and then work from there, and then return on the other end of it, have lunch together, and every day, and then at the end of the day, it was a 30-second commute to the couch, or to go back out on the back patio again. To me, that's a balance. That's a work-life balance, and we're grateful because although they evolved into a hybrid because they found out that they had more productivity in regard to all of the employees and the people that were working there. That if they had a hybrid situation, it was a satisfactory balance between work and between life. So and everybody was able to benefit from that. So yeah, I agree with that. I want to touch upon, if you don't mind. You mentioned earlier about the Science of Miracles. You popped your book up. I've put it up several times whenever I put you on the other screen. Remembering the Frequency of Love. Can we talk a bit about what it? I mean, we kind of touched on what inspired you to write that, because what a I said profound earlier. I'll say it again because that is profound. I would love to have an experience like that. I think you were giving me chills when you were talking about that. I could feel your emotion that came out of that. Is that what inspired you to write The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love?
Yeah, and I don't recall a time that I haven't talked about it where I don't cry, because it is emotional. I feel the feeling of those things that were there that day, those beings, every time I talk about them. And I remember asking, like, or thinking, I just thought it in my head, what is your name? And the woman said true, and the man said living. And so my practice is called Living True Wellness. And my whole path shifted to living true, like embodying truth and authenticity. Um, the book literally came out of that. And to be honest, I didn't know that I was going to publish it for the world. I was more trying to write everything down for me, and so I wouldn't forget it, because I was so afraid, like, well, if it came to me that fast, it's going to be gone that fast. And I just wanted to, like, hold on to it, because it was so much, it was coming at me in so many different ways. And over time too, there were different dreams that would come, and I would wake up and have like this whole new epiphany of things. And so I accumulated those things and kept writing it. And then somebody had encouraged me to publish it and to get it out. And again, I live a very conscious life, and so I was like back and forth on it with whether or not to publish it or not. But I kept getting the go to this. There was this ancient scripture that came to me, and it said, "How beautiful are the feet that," I think it said, "preach the good news." And I thought, what is that? And I kind of Googled it and looked into the etymology of it, and that word preach or whatever actually means publish. And I was like, I'm supposed to publish this. And I had someone reach out to me, a publisher actually wanted to do a 3-book deal, and I had another publisher wanted to do a 2-book deal. And when I looked into it, it was like cents on the book. Like literally, if a book was $20, I would get like 3 cents. And this is way before people were self-publishing. And I was like, that doesn't seem like the best exchange for the investment of what I was bringing to the table. And so late, I just kept coming back to that. How beautiful are the feet that publish the good news. And so we ended up publishing ourselves this book. And yeah, it became a bestseller, an international bestseller. There's been a lot of people all over the world who've come back, and I always encourage people, when you read it, tell me, report your miracles to me, because I want to hear what people did when they applied these formulas to their life. What was the outcome? I want to hear about it. And so people have sent testimonies from all over the world of, oh, this happened and now this happened, and I was doing this and now this happened, or I didn't have a great partner, but now I found my divine partner, or I changed my whole vocation, or I lost, 100 pounds, or, whatever the thing is that someone's, looking to make those shifts. Seeing any kind of negative patterns that you're just like, wow, I thought I got over this. I thought I moved on from this. I thought that this wasn't going to happen anymore. And then it still keeps popping up. This is a book for you if that's the situation that you're in and you're just like trying to kind of reverse engineer your life into a more positive outcome. And kind of, because talk therapy, I'm a fan of like having someone to confide in, but talk therapy on a frequency level, if you just keep talking about it and talking about it, you're actually not only reliving it on a physiological, and all the trauma comes up again, but you're putting that into the field. And so you'll keep attracting that over and over and over, versus like, let's clear it. Let's get out those negative equations. Let's, identify it first and then clear it. Put in some other positive frequencies that are more stronger, higher equations, and then start getting a new match that's more positive and that serves you better. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Well, I think that, obviously you are here to inspire people and you're here to motivate people, and I think that you want people to be able to make that connection that they need from a spiritual level as well as from a holistic naturopathic level. And that connection, I think, would allow people to come out into life in a more positive approach, in a positive way. So it's an opportunity for that. Um, I wish I could talk for another. This hour went by fast.
It did.
We need to bring you back.
I
You
would
need,
love to.
you need to come back.
I'd
Um,
I would be honored to come back.
let's talk about how to get a hold of you. And I know that you have several programs that you offer, as well as, I've only got 2 books up here, but I know that you've written 4 books or more. 4? No,
5, actually. Yes, 5.
5 books. 5 books. Forgive me. I know that. In fact, let me mark that. I know that you've written 5 books, as well as provide some people some opportunities. Can you please help us understand that and how to get in touch with you?
Yes, I would love to. Yeah, just honestly, if you go to drsharnael.com, pretty much everything is there. I have all my social media there. I have my podcast there. I have my books there. I have a lot of fun tools like that are not pretty affordable, like grounding devices. I have zappers to kill parasites. I have, little fun things like that. And all of my online workshops, like I teach different things like muscle testing. I teach about crystals, miracles, outcome mapping, you know, fun things like that. If that's something that resonates with you, I also do long distance coaching. I do soul audits where I can actually see and test, how big the person's field is, what's going on in the field, if they're integrated with different chakras, with their male and energies, female energies. We can find like the top 5 triggers or kind of snags in the system for abundance and clear that. Also do biofeedback long distance. And I've been able to help a lot of people in different countries all over the world, kind of find out what is snagging them up physically, mentally, spiritually, and clear those things, and then to help them to see a different outcome. And but yeah, I would love to come back, and I hope you guys had fun today. I had a fun time and I enjoyed it very much. So thank you for letting me be with you, and thank you for your service and what you're doing.
Thank you. I mean, what an amazing conversation, and it will continue, because I think that you have so much more that we can talk about and so much more we can share. So thank you for what you've done today. It's been an amazing conversation. I'll make sure that the links to everything are in the show notes, and there's a web page that is specifically built for this episode in particular, and that will also have everything on it. So, this is one more thing before you go. Before you go, do you have any words of wisdom you can share?
My biggest thing is living true. When, authenticity is actually higher frequency than love. And my theory on that is when we are in our authentic experience, that is that's self-love, that's unconditional love for self and others. And it brings love and authenticity to our world and our collective, and that makes the world better. And so you're doing that, and I know many of you are doing that. And if I can help do that anymore for you and clear out some old things, contact me and just go to the website and we'll start you going.
It's brilliant words of wisdom. Well, Dr. Sharnael, thank you very much again for being part of this conversation. I really appreciate you sharing with your wisdom, your experiences, your life journey, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you too, Michael. Thank you.
For everyone else out there in the community, thank you very much for being part of One More Thing Before You Go. So I will say one more thing before you all go. Have a great day. Have a great week, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go. Check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform.